You know what's an even stranger case than Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Well, the fact that people think that it's called Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But everyone's wrong. The author of the novel, Robert Louis Stevenson, even said that it was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It was only the first sound movie that got it right. That's the one by Universal with Frederick Marsh. But then, movies started calling him Dr. Jekyll. And then people got all confused and now they call it Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Seriously, what's up with that? Why did they start calling him Dr. Jekyll? Why do they gotta start changing things up? You know, there were 2 kids at my school that got into a fight about this. It's not worth getting into a fight over, but that's what this has caused. People, stop calling him Dr. Jekyll, or else. Alright, let's play quiz. Who is this monster? Is it A, Dracula, B, the Wolfman, C, Frankenstein, or D, none of the above? Well, the answer is D, none of the above. This is the Frankenstein monster. Somehow, a trend started where everyone started calling him Frankenstein. They never refer to him as Frankenstein in the book or in any of the movies. They either call him the Frankenstein monster, or Frankenstein's monster, or the monster. Frankenstein is the name of the professor, Victor Frankenstein, who created the monster. If anyone you know makes the mistake of calling the monster Frankenstein, call him out on it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later. In the novel Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein's first name is Victor, and his friend's name is Henry. But in the Universal film from 1931, they swapped the names of the two. They called Dr. Frankenstein Henry and his best friend Victor. What's up with that? Seriously. If you're talking about the film after you watched it and you haven't read the book, then you're gonna be saying the wrong names. Why? Why do they have to do this? It's ridiculous. Don't ever do that again. But nevertheless, it's still a fantastic flick, and I encourage anyone to go see it if you can.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
As we all know, Nosferatu was one of the first Dracula films, but was not called Dracula because they couldn't get the rights to use the name Dracula in it. In the 1931 Universal Studios film Dracula, they obviously got the rights to use the name Dracula, but how? Well, they got it from Bram Stoker's widow, and guess how much they paid for the rights? Well, they paid $40,000 for those rights to use the name Dracula. Damn, that's a lot.
Indeed.
I mean, that's a lot for today's standards. Just to think that they paid that much back in the day for Dracula's name. All I can say is, that's pretty crazy. Yesterday's Horror Mania fact showed us how much Universal Studios paid to use Dracula's name, which was $40,000. Now let's talk about King Kong from 1933. You're all familiar with the scene where King Kong climbs to the top of the Empire State Building. And, there's planes shooting at him and whatnot. Well, guess what? The pilots of the plane were only paid $10 to fly them for the movie. Now, the movie came out in 1933, so let's assume it was shot in 1932. They only got paid $10 measly to fly those planes. But even before that was shot, Universal Studios paid $40,000 for a name. That's it, just a name. Dracula. It's just letters. There's nothing physical about a name. But to fly a plane, you only get $10. Wow. That's insane. Alright, let's talk about the 1932 movie The Mummy, starring Boris Karloff. Well, here's a cool thing to know. The flashback scenes in ancient Egypt were designed to resemble a silent film. With no dialogue, exaggerated makeup, and a fast camera speed. Alright, so thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you later. You know what's kinda cool about the Wolfman from 1941? Okay, so the shooting lasted from October 27th to November 25th, 1941. The film was then released on December 12th, 1941. Damn. This just blows my mind on so many levels. First of all, there were no computers where you could edit this stuff, so you had to splice it on a film reel, one by one, which takes a long time. Trust me, I know from experience. They must have worked non-stop on editing this. And it's such a great movie too, they did a great job. So, thank you Universal Studios for working your butts off to create this masterpiece. You rock. Alright, let's move on to the classic Creature from the Black Lagoon from 1954. Did you know that 2 different stuntmen were used to portray the creature, and therefore 2 different suits were used in the movie? Rico Browning played the creature when it was in the water and wore a lighter suit. Ben Chapman played the creature when it was out of the water with a darker suit. What, you don't think that's interesting? Well, whatever. I'll see you later. You ever hear of Cat People from 1942? Well, the film was in theaters for a pretty long time. In fact, the film was in theaters for so long that critics who had originally bashed the film were able to see it again, and many rewrote their reviews with a more positive spin. However, if I were those critics, I wouldn't have written a poor review even the first time around, because I think this movie is awesome. Maybe I'll review this movie someday, but this is just a horror fact, not a movie review, so all I can say now is, if you're a fan of classic horror films, then check it out. Okay, you know the 1932 movie Freaks, directed by Todd Browning? Well, this film was banned in the UK for 30 years after it was released. Boy, isn't that interesting? Well, see you later, folks. Alright, now I'm sure you've heard of Phantom of the Opera from 1925. Did you know that the only part of the set that is still standing today is the Opera House? Now, this fact is as of July of 2012, so this may be irrelevant if you're watching this like 20 years later, so I'll see you later, folks. In The Invisible Man from 1933, the way they achieved the effect that Claude Rains wasn't really there when his character took off the bandages was the director had Rains dressed completely in black velvet, and they filmed him in front of a black velvet background. That's pretty clever, I gotta say. I mean, that's some creative thinking for back in the 1930s, you know? So, check out the movie, it's awesome. You ever hear of the movie White Zombie from 1932, starring Bela Lugosi? Well, Rob Zombie named his first heavy metal band White Zombie. He named it after this movie. Now, isn't that just the most fascinating thing you've ever heard? Well, I'll see you later. During production of the classic film Night of the Living Dead, the working title for the movie was going to be Monster Flick. But, as you can see, they changed it to Night of the Living Dead, which is a much better title than just Monster Flick. But man, that's awesome. Did you know that Universal Studios shot two versions of the classic 1931 film Dracula? One in English, which was shot during the day, and one in Spanish, which was shot during the night. Personally, I consider the Spanish film to be the superior version. Well, I'll see you later. Okay, now I'm sure you know about the movie Frankenstein from 1931. I've already made 2 videos about it for this month. Well, the film was banned in Kansas upon its original release on the grounds that it exhibited, in quotations, cruelty and tended to debase morals. What a bunch of crap. Well, I'll see you later. In the movie The Thing from Another World from the 1950s, close-ups of the Thing were removed because it was felt that the makeup couldn't hold up to close scrutiny. However, the lack of close-ups, in my opinion, gave the creature a more mysterious quality. Well, I'll see you later, folks. You ever hear of the giant claw from the 1950s? Well, the producers originally planned to use a stop-motion model created by Ray Harryhausen for the bird. However, due to budgetary limitations, they were forced to use a marionette. So, I hope you found that interesting. And go check out the giant claw, it's pretty hilarious. Despite Basil Rathbone's frequent appearance in horror films, he particularly hated them for reasons that I'm not aware of, but it's probably the reason for his over-the-top performance in Son of Frankenstein. Well, I'll see you later. In the movie House of Wax from 1953, the name of Vincent Price's character was changed to Henry Jared from Ivan Igor to avoid alienating Russian viewers. Well, I'll see you later. You ever see The Vulture from 1967? Well, it was originally filmed in color, but only shown theatrically in black and white. It was eventually broadcasted on television in its original color. Well, I'll see you later.